All right. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Okay. So we are just 20 of us right now. Should I just give 1 minute for everybody to join in?
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
We can start.
Yes. Gurvinder sir is always telling me to start on time. Okay. All right. So whatever sir tells us. So we'll start. We are still 20. Okay, people are joining in, but that's good. So let me start by sharing my screen. Okay, are you able to see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now, luckily for me, I've got 2 classes today with you all that really, actually, it adds to a lot of continuity because we are still at module 1 and we are talking about verbal communication skills. So in the earlier class, we looked at the 7 C's of communication. We looked at the process of communication. We looked at the problems faced during communication along with the definition. What we will do now is look into 2 more things. 1, active listening skills, and 2, communication styles. Okay, I actually forgot to mention earlier, but I'd just like to mention it now that the manual that you've been given has a lot more. And we have only 9 classes to complete our entire syllabus. So everything will not be done online. The simple topics like, what are the functions of communication, etc., you can actually read up on your own, or it is also available in the manual that has been given to you. So some simple topics which are very self-explanatory, which don't really require any additional inputs from my side, we will skip them. You can learn on your own. Major topics we will try and cover. Okay, so we will now go on to active listening skills. And my question to you is, well, are you good listeners?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. Are you good? I'm going to test that. Okay?
Yes,
So you have to be careful when you answer.
Partially good listeners.
You're free to test, ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
Fantastic. So Kavita is going to be tested and partially good listeners. Okay, what is partially good listeners? I think Karthik mentioned.
Yeah, because many times we try to focus and our attention span is very less. So we just keep moving on. So, but completely we are not able to take it. So that's why I said partial.
You're absolutely right. So is there a difference between hearing and listening?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes, there's a big difference.
Okay. So Margaret, what do you think is the difference?
When we hear, we
Sorry, Margaret, you've been muted.
sorry,
Okay, just 1 second, Margaret. There is a request for all of y'all that, there may be background noises at your end, which is preventing all of us from hearing the people who are speaking. So if there is some noise at, at your home or something, please be on mute. And if you have to reply, then put it on chat or something. Sorry about that. Margaret, go ahead.
Yes, so I was saying when we are hearing, it's like, I'm a passive listener. The message is conveyed, no doubt. And sometimes they say that you're listening from one ear and let it go from the other. But when we are listening, we are actively grasping the information, trying to understand, analyze it, and reciprocate at the same time.
All right. Well, absolutely correct.
Unconscious listening is hearing.
Unconscious listening is hearing. Okay. Yes, Kavita.
Ma'am, hearing is got to do with just receiving the sensory input. When we say active listening, it's got to do a lot with conversing with the speaker simultaneously, maybe with a nod, with a smile, with the body language. That empathy element is there. That yes, I do understand. I do get your point. I'm encouraging you to share more. That's active listening.
Okay, wonderful. Yes, Jaspreet.
Ma'am, what I understand is like paying attention first, then understanding and analyzing, and then we should respond. That comes under active listening.
Okay. Animes.
Yes, ma'am. I think, ma'am, whatever we are hearing as a sound, if we are not processing it further, if it is just one way and we are just hearing it, there is no processing going on in the brain, then that is, passive. I mean, we are just hearing it. But if we are processing what you are saying as a thought, thinking upon it, maybe that is active listening.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Lot of thoughts coming up and almost correct. I'd just like to differentiate between listening and active listening also. Okay. So hearing, I think everybody knows, it just sounds on your ears, and like I think Kavita said, or I don't remember who said it, just in here and out there. So that is hearing. Listening is far more difficult. Active listening is hard work. So if you actually, we are going to talk about only active listening. And if you look at, the data with us, the time spent in communication, 45% of the time is spent in listening. Out of all the time that we spend in communication, 45% is spent on listening. And then there's writing, reading, speaking, etc. However, number one complaint that everybody has is nobody listens to me. So if you look at, colleagues, we are talking about he doesn't listen to me. If you're talking about the boss says my subordinates don't listen to me. Subordinate says the boss is not listening to me. You talk about sales and service providers and organizations, both have the same complaints. Why even professionally, even at home, the parents say the children don't listen to me. The kids say the parents don't listen. So then the question is, who actually is listening? Although we are spending 45% of the time. And that is why we need to differentiate between hearing, listening, and active listening. Yes, Namrata.
And there's also one very good line I'd come across on this long back. So they say that though hearing is a part of your five senses, but when you choose that, yes, I want to listen, I want to understand, interpret, or analyze, is what the listening becomes.
So listening involves all this. One, first of all, of course, hearing, then interpreting it and understanding it. Active listening goes one step beyond. Very often, especially in the professional world, it's not really enough to listen. We need to prove it beyond doubt to our senders that we are listening. So if I go back to the example that I shared with you in the morning, that I'm quiet in the meeting, actually I'm listening. I'm listening. I have heard other people's comments. I've analyzed it, interpreted it. I have reached a conclusion that their idea is fantastic and my idea is not so good, and therefore I keep quiet. So I've done all that part of listening. However, it is still creating problems. And therefore, we need to move from listening to active listening, where we actually need to prove to everybody, yes, that I've heard your idea. I like it. I think this is it. And I think it's correct. So it's far more in detail. Now, what all we need to do as active listeners, let's have a little bit of exercise. Okay. So what we will do here is, I told you we're going to test your listening skills. So this is the place now. So we'll do a small exercise, and where did she go? Grishma, I think, right? No, I don't know. No, Kavita. Kavita has actually agreed, that she's going to be tested. So I have one
Very
volunteer.
much, ma'am. Very much.
So Kavita is one of the volunteers. I need two more.
Ma'am.
Okay, Jaspreet.
Manju.
And I think this one, Pradeep has raised his hand. Manju, next time. Sorry. Okay, so we have Kavita, we have Pradeep, and who was the next? Jaspreet.
Jaspreet.
Yes. Now, I think you've all played this game, Chinese Whispers. Okay, so we are going to
Yes,
do the
ma'am.
same
We still
thing,
do.
but yeah, but in a little different manner, and considering
Okay.
that we are on Zoom a little differently. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask Kavita and Jaspreet to, I'll put you in two different breakout rooms. When you get the message, please join that room. What is the exercise
ma'am.
about? I am going to actually narrate an incident to Pradeep. Okay, Pradeep, you've got to listen to me very accurately. It's an exercise in active listening. And then we'll call Jaspreet back to our main session. You need to repeat it to her. Jaspreet, you're going to repeat it to Kavita when she joins back. And Kavita, you've got to tell all of us again what the message is. So although this is all going to be done loudly, so normally Chinese whispers is like whispers, but we are going to do it differently. And now you can observe that although we have 3 volunteers, actually the test of listening is for all the others who are attending, because you're the ones who are going to tell me what was done very well. Were there any additions? Were there any deletions? So all the things are going to be talked about the people who are going to be remaining in the main session. All right, is that okay?
Left.
Done.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So just give me a second to put both Jaspreet and Kavita in a breakout room. All right, so the 2 of them have left. Pradeep, are you ready? And the others, are you ready?
Yeah, madam.
Okay, so I'm going to narrate, like I said, I'm going to narrate an incident, but it is an incident. It's a story that I have to tell you. And so that I don't forget anything, I'm going to read it out to you. Okay, so it was a busy day and traffic was heavy on MG Road, also known as Main Street. The pedestrians were finding it hard to cross the street. One young lady, who could have been there to make a purchase, got impatient. She started walking and was hit by a vehicle. Probably the driver did not see her. The impact caused her to fall down. After falling down, she lay absolutely still. Many onlookers feared the worst. Now, as a result of the impact, her clothes were in a disarray and more of her was visible than she intended. The heavy makeup and her attire suggested that she was not from a respectable background and perhaps of poor morals, which is why, leave alone help her, nobody wanted to touch her. Okay, got it? Everybody? Nimes is smiling.
There was so much of stuff in it. I can relate why you have chosen this one.
Okay, so Pradeep, ready, right?
Yeah, madam.
Shall I call, I think Jaspreet, I'll call Jaspreet. Okay, I think I need to close all the rooms at one go and then I'll put Kavita again.
Should I do it?
Oh, I just, will you put Kavita again in a breakout room, Gurvinda sir?
Ma'am, she's there in the room.
Yeah, so Kavita needs to go out again. Jaspreet is back, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So
So am I,
Kavita,
ma'am.
Turn right.
yeah,
Kavita
so
is also
Kavita,
back.
I'm going to put you again in the breakout room. I couldn't just close one breakout.
500 meters.
Oh,
Turn
okay.
right.
Maybe I may leave the session and join in after 3 minutes. Will that
Just
work?
hold on, Kavita. Let me put you in the waiting room.
Okay, so we have a technology expert who's going to do all that. All right. So Pradeep, go ahead. Jaspreet is listening.
Okay, Jasprit, there is a one story actually. So, in a way, one ladies is in traveling with some busy traffic area, where is a MG road. Then she got to meet with an accident, and after that. People are not touching that ladies due to their attire as well, due to some she belongs to uh, unsocial, you can say unsocial background maybe. So this is the way, and their all relatives and all they are not touching as well. So this is the scenario you need to percolate to that same message.
Can I ask some question also, ma'am?
Pradeep, all yours.
Ma'am, can I?
No, we'll keep it stick to the volunteers.
Okay.
Pradeep, can I ask something?
Yeah, madam, please.
Pradeep, the first line you were saying, na, that lady was going through a traffic on some road. That was not clear to me actually.
Yeah, that is MG road actually, somewhere
Okay.
in busy traffic over there.
Mm-hmm.
So during that heavy traffic, she meet with an accident,
Mm-hmm.
and then attire was not so good. So we can articulate like that. She is not belongs to the social background as well. So this is the way, and people are not touching and not supporting them, supporting for the further activity.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to now admit Kavita inside. Jaspreet, you can take it from here. Okay, Kavita, are you here?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
Yes. All right. So Jaspreet is now going to share a story with you. You got to listen.
Can I take a pen and so that note it down if it helps?
What was that, Kavita?
May I note it down while she speaks? Maybe with a pen and a paper? Is that, rather, is that allowed?
I'm not able to hear you very well, Kavita.
She is asking that she can write it down when I narrate her.
Okay, if you want to. All right, go ahead, Jaspreet. All yours.
Okay, Kavita, are you ready? Shall we start?
Yes.
Okay, so Kavita, Pradeep narrated me a story which was about a woman. She was going on MG road, which was a road full of traffic, a very busy road. So she met with a accident, and she was not wearing good clothes. Like he said that it was not a social cultural dress she was wearing. So due to her attire, people were now not touching her, not helping her. Even her the relatives were not helping her because of her attire and dress. So this is the case.
All right.
Okay.
So Kavita, now you just need to repeat it back to all of us.
Okay, the story goes.
Kavita, I lost you.
Appropriate dress which was not in sync with the social and cultural values of that place. She needed help. She asked for it, but she did not receive it.
Kavita, can you just repeat it once again because you're not clear at all?
Is now?
Hello? Yeah.
Is the quality any better now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so the story goes like this. There was once a woman who was going on a road from Manchi Port. I asked what it was. I did not get a response to that. Maybe
Lost you again, Kavita.
properly dressed with the social cultural values of that place. Nobody came forward to help her. This is all I could gather.
Okay, all right. I think a nice round of applause for all the volunteers. And now the floor is open for y'all. So tell me what was added, deleted.
Ma'am, a lot of things was deleted, ma'am.
Okay.
Like it was MG Road. It was a busy day. It is MG Road, which is also known as Main Street.
Mhm.
The driver angle is deleted, where the driver was probably not looking. He was driving a vehicle. He hit this lady, but he was probably not looking. Now the lady remains motionless on the road. This was omitted. And the people are afraid of the worst. They don't know if she's alive or dead. She was not dressed in a very appropriate manner, but you had used some other words, which I did remember, but since two other people had their version, that also changed what I remembered. So, okay. So that is also something which I learned, that if you listen to a different variant, then again, your own thought process changes. So that is the reason they did not approach her or touch her. And still I'm missing much more. I'm sure others will fill in.
Ma'am, yeah, this even relatives angle was not at all there. There were no relatives as such. It was on the road. Okay, so that was actually added extra.
Yes.
And it was a busy. She was a little in a hurry to cross the road. That's it.
Shall I attempt?
We'll wait for Kunal, please.
Yes, yes.
Sure.
So the way like you depicted the story, it was many of the things were omitted, and the angle of looking at the story was changed. The way we looked at it when you were narrating it, we like saw a good angle into it. But when other people narrated, the angle was changed with saying that that lady was this way, and so that is the way she noted into, like we looked upon to it.
So are you saying, Kunal, that your perception about the story changed depending on who's speaking?
Yes, a
Okay.
little.
All right.
Correct,
We'll wait
correct,
for
ma'am. Yeah.
Padima. I think she raised her hand first.
Ma'am, I felt what Animesh said is there were two versions of the story. I felt the woman was prejudiced completely in the story. It was unconscious because there was no social class mentioned in a way. So it was completely prejudiced, and the narration before that was completely missing. So the context was completely off.
Okay. Are we talking about the same story?
Because I mean, focus was not woman actually. If you go to see this narration, and then it went to the, so it was completely off, I felt.
Okay. Yes, Namrata.
Pradeep, first of all, never report a crime scene if ever you do that. Well, I feel that visualization of step by step how incident happened, like when you're telling or narrating a story. So, I mean, I think few people are more like listening. Some people are maybe little visual. So my point when you were telling the story was going more like, first you said busy day, so that's a keyword. Then you said MG Road. Then you said it's a main street, and a lady. There was because traffic. The lady was impatient, so of course she was in a hurry to cross, and it was because of her mistake. I mean, she got hit by a vehicle. Now there's no car mentioned or anything, but you can make out vehicle. You're saying, so that what picture came to my mind, and then she lay still, and then of course the tone thing happened. Her clothes were torn, and her maybe loud makeup. So that picture goes, okay, it was a very loud makeup, she's impatient. So that impression came that yes, she might be a little careless, and that's why people, onlookers were, of course, still they wanted to see, but then they were not coming in because she was already being judged. So though this point by point, that picture probably a little more
Korean.
visualization would have helped.
Ma'am, I think we all missed one thing, that because of her dress, I mean, after she was hit, I think certain parts were like
Shown.
exposed, and that angle was also there. Probably that is also why people
That is
were not
yes.
approaching her.
Okay. So, Jasmeet, you actually did you write down anything? Because you asked me this question, can I write down? Can we write down? Did you
No,
ask?
ma'am, Kavita was writing.
Kavita was right.
Kavita was writing. Okay.
I write it
I
down
wanted to
without
write,
asking
but
you.
there was not much of information that came to me that needed me to write somewhere to register that in my memory.
But
It was
I write.
very less.
Okay, you wrote it down. All right.
Yeah.
Now I'm just going to read it out once again for your benefit, because you don't know what's happening in the scene. So I'll just read it again. That it was a busy day and traffic was heavy on MG Road, also known as Main Street. So I think this was all missed out except for the MG Road. The pedestrians were finding it hard to cross the street. Totally missed out. One young lady. So that got converted into a woman. Okay, but okay, one young lady who could have been there to make a purchase got impatient. She started walking and was hit by a vehicle. Probably the driver did not see her. Okay, the impact caused her to fall down. After falling down, she lay absolutely still. Many onlookers feared the worst. As a result of the impact, her clothes were in a disarray and more of her was visible than she intended. The heavy makeup and her attire suggested that she was not from a respectable background and perhaps of poor morals, which is why, leave alone help her, nobody there wanted to touch her.
I think I got the half to here, ma'am. I got only half to.
Less than half.
Yeah.
There were only 10%.
Yes, so yeah, and I think like Famida said, the focus actually changed and little bit of okay, we didn't pass on the correct message. So now the thing is what to do. And don't worry about all of y'all volunteers. This is always there. It always happens. So you don't have to, beat yourself around the bush, ki maine ye kya kar diya. But this is what actually happens in reality. And therefore, just listening is not enough, which is what y'all were doing. So now all three of you were actually listening properly. You were not preoccupied. You didn't have phones or anything going on. There was no distraction. And yet we were not able to pass on an accurate message. So therefore, what we need to move from is listening is to active listening. So now give me your suggestions so that, we become good listeners. Kya kare? What to do?
Take notes. Take notes. If you write
Okay,
down
Mary.
the points.
So you said okay, let's just take this forward. Notes, meaning what would you write down?
About the woman, because I think that she was the subject of the story all along. So what exactly happened to the woman?
Like the key pointers, right?
Keywords.
Keywords. So in this particular story, what would be the keywords like?
Busy road.
Busy road, okay.
Which known as Main Street.
MG Road.
MG Road.
Main Street.
Young woman,
Street.
young lady, you said, I think.
Young lady.
People are finding difficult to cross the road.
People are finding difficult to cross the road.
Actually,
got
external
impatient.
factors as well as internal factors what made this incident, because internally she's impatient, externally all that chaos added to this.
Okay, I'm just going to stop you right now. is that if you take down these kind of notes, they are not bullet points, they are notes. Okay, so you're talking about busy day, MG Road, also known as Main Street, pedestrians. That means you're just leaving out the conjunctions, prepositions, etc., and writing down basically what we used to do during college times, lectures, sunte waqt. We're trying to write down notes. Now, notes, there's nothing wrong with writing down notes. But see, now our brain is already doing two things. It's listening and it's writing down notes. So two very big things it is doing. And we actually talked about it that, you know, when we're talking about active listening, we need to interpret, etc., etc., etc. So that interpretation and analysis, that will actually go. Same thing like used to happen in our college times when you're writing down notes. At the end of the lecture, professor asks any questions, everything is so clear to us. But 2 days before the exam, when you start looking at the notes, then we have 1,000 queries saying, you know, ye kya ho gaya? Why? Because the analysis has started then. So I am very much for taking down bullet points. But what you're talking about, they are not bullet points. Okay, bullet points would be keywords which will trigger off memories. Okay, so note down, but very key. I want you to participate in the meetings. Now, if you're going to write down everything, you will not be able to participate. Okay, so that is one thing. What else to do? Note down only the bullet points. Yes, Karthik.
Then how to improve this, ma'am? Even while noting down, it's again same thing. As we listen and we reproduce it right now, you're putting some point there also, you're going to miss it.
Yes. Okay, so that's what we are learning.
Okay.
It's a visualization, I believe. I think once you are narrating a story, if you keep on visualizing, because the visualization has a logic. And primarily for us, we are adult learners, we would always get into an audio visual aid. If the video is not there, if you visualize, you remember it.
Okay.
There's a sequence to the whole visualization.
All right. So Namrata also talked about it earlier. You're also saying, Sukrit, that you have to actually visualize. So the thing is, when a person is speaking, the narrator of the story, he has to build that visuals. Okay. So there can't be any faltering. There can't be any fillers like, you can't keep on changing. It has to be a smooth flow, because listening to your voice, people are going to actually visualize. So when I say that, you know, the impact caused her to fall down. After falling down, she lay absolutely still. Let people figure out na, that, you know, still matlab shayad unconscious hai. Who knows, maybe is she dead? That's the question that should come to their mind with your tone. So the
I thought she's scared, matlab hote na shock. In shock, suddenly you get hit for a few seconds, you go blank. So probably.
So whatever you want people to visualize, I have to narrate it that way. Okay, so where I need to slow down, where I need to speed up, which words I need to emphasize, where I need to take that dramatic pause. So as good communicators, थोड़ा बहुत acting तो हमें करना ही है. Trainers को definitely acting करना है. Orators, too much of acting we have to do. So we have to learn these skills. That visualize, people are going to remember with visualization. Your job to make them visualize it. So we've got 2 points. One is take bullet points, note down bullet points. Second is to make people visualize. और क्या करने का? और क्या कर सकते?
Ask questions.
Tone modulation. We can do tone modulation for the same.
Okay, hold on. Kunal, can you go ahead?
Yeah. So it was all about tone modulation, which was playing a very important role while narrating.
Tone modulation. Okay. So voice needs to be proper.
Yeah. After that, rephrasing the important points from our end so that the key points can be at least retained in the minds of the listener.
All right. Rephrasing, repeating, very important. Karthik, we're going to discuss this. Yes, Jaspreet.
We can ask question also if we are not getting it.
Yes. I have to ask this question to Pradeep. वो बीच में सब खा ही लिया कपड़ों के बारे में यार. Why did you forget about it?
Isn't we, ma'am, what we do during listening, na, we visualize our own pictures because
Yes.
we need to go through the crux actually, what happened and what the result may be.
Yeah.
So such type
So
of
you
things
actually
we
came to the final result that
True.
people did not help that lady who had an accident. But usme se, the reasoning that did not happen correctly.
Yeah.
Because you change social background aa gaya.
Huh.
Now, social background can be anything. I did not talk about, see, when you are actually coming up, understanding the message, you can't distort it.
True.
And therefore, it is very important to understand every word that has been spoken.
Very true.
Okay. And therefore, just difficult words hai. Now, even animes, when he actually narrated the whole story back, it was all there up till the part of the impact. फिर वो clothes के बारे में even you forgot. So I was very surprised because of that.
Yes, ma'am.
And then if you look at it, out of the entire narration, the difficult words were in that sentence. Okay. Not only difficult, थोड़े awkward भी थे, So, कैसे बताने का?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
True.
The
ma'am.
clothes were in a disarray and more of her was visible than she intended. So Namrata said, torn clothes. No, not now. You're changing it. You're putting.
I was a little awkward, feeling awkward to use the word also. Maybe that's
See,
the question.
that's the problem.
Same
So
way, ma'am. We are rephrase
because
our
we are awkward, we
Like,
will change it to and use words which you think are right. But
And
you change the facts. You're right.
Yes.
This
So
is
we
and
can-
ma'am, when we are listening, those are unfamiliar words which we are not able to recall it. So we add our own fillers to get it, and the context completely changes.
Absolutely correct. And the only way to avoid is ask a question. Okay. So you could simply ask what Namrata is going through, were they torn? And I'll say, nahi yaar, where did I use the word torn? I didn't use the word torn. Then see, now look at what is happening in your mind. You are making it more complex. You are thinking it is awkward because you think she's looking indecent.
True.
Ma'am, can it also happen that maybe for me, the crux of the story or highlight might be little different than what it might be for some other person? Like for me, it might be that she was being judged, that she might not be, from this thing. So rather than, a depiction about her clothes.
Yeah. So now what I want to tell you is when you are listening, now I'm not talking about the sender, I'm talking about the listener. What does active listening involve? That you get the gist of the story. You don't make your own judgment. You check out the judgments. When you narrated the story back, you actually said that the story is all about prejudices.
Right, ma'am.
Okay. That is your judgment about the story. You're free to judge, you're free to interpret, provided you are understood everything. So till the time the understanding and interpretation is done, you cannot judge. All right. So now we are back to, the awkward areas where you're feeling, ye kya ho raha hai, and how do I do all this? How do I repeat it? So that's when you should ask questions, simply. Get it out of your system, the awkwardness. Okay, ask questions there. What do you mean by disarray? Were the clothes torn? It could be as simple as a fact that she's worn a dupatta. Now the dupatta is not in the proper, in the normal place. It is on the road. So there's nothing wrong with her clothes. She's not looking indecent. Only the dupatta is lying somewhere else. Clothes are still in a disarray. Okay. So now that interpretation of yours, the gist, ki prejudices hai, alag ho jata hai.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So understand, and then later on, we are going to interpret it. So gist mein, what is it that she did not have good clothes? Her clothes were in a disarray. Now, Pradeep, these are difficult words. Karthik, I agree with you. Ye normal language ke words nahi hai. So in such a case, ask questions. This is a good time to ask a question. Even the later on, that the heavy makeup and her attire suggested she was not from a respectable background and perhaps of poor morals. Now, एक तो लंबा चौड़ा sentence है. Secondly, बहुत difficult है. Thirdly, awkward भी है. Break it up and ask questions. What do you mean heavy makeup? Was she looking indecent? And I'll say, I don't know whether she was looking indecent, but heavy tha. Normal ladies जो पहनते हैं, young ladies, उससे ज़्यादा था. Okay. So then you get a correct picture. Visualization भी आ जाती है. Her attire suggested she was not from a respectable background. So this again, if you ask questions, your awkwardness of repeating it will change. So important thing that Jaspreet has pointed out, ask questions, but ask questions which are going to give you good answers. Remember, good quality questions will produce good quality answers.
And then what was the rephrasing you had mentioned?
Yeah.
Like first was bullet point, then visualization, then rephrasing.
I will call it paraphrasing. Give me 1 minute before we go into discussing that. Manju, you have raised your hand. Is it for something?
Yes, ma'am. If I compare our both of the lectures, now we have got two equations. From lecture 1, we understood that if it is our responsibility that the receiver gets the message entirely, clearly, concisely. And now you are throwing it to the listener now that he must ask question to get the clear message. So which equation is correct?
I'm telling you that as a trainer, are you just the sender?
Yes.
You're the sender primarily of your message, but there are going to be a lot of questions. There are going to be a lot of give and take. Our job is to listen over there and not just listen, actively listen. I have seen, I don't know, maybe your experience is different, but I've seen a lot of trainers, when they get the question, before the question is completely asked, they jump into the answer.
Yes.
Okay. So you haven't understood the question at all. There are so many prejudices that can come in. So many assumptions that come in, just like what has happened right now. I'm getting the gist of your question, but I'm focusing on the social part of it. Whereas I'm talking about something totally different. Use active listening skills there. So it is not as a sender or the listener. I'm telling you to use both these skills. I don't want you to be only a listener. You have to be an active listener. You have to prove to your audience that you have heard all of what they are saying. It may be a question, maybe a thought, maybe an opinion. It's only when they feel that they have heard that they're willing to listen to you as well. Okay. Convincing, influencing people.
Yes.
It's not only about the words, logic, data. It's about how you interact and build a rapport with them.
Got it, ma'am. We need to get into both of their shoes when we are into those characters. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So, Famida, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Oh yeah, ma'am, it's Famida. Ma'am, I had a question. I just want to know, are all listeners visual in nature? Because
No. You're right. Very, very good question. Not all listeners. You've studied this, right, Vak? VAK?
Yeah.
So we have all kinds of listeners in front of us. Some are visual listeners, some are, actually we call them learners. Visual रहता है, kinesthetic रहते हैं, auditory रहते हैं. Now, as speakers, we have to do everything. You have to appeal to all the things. And therefore, when you're going to be communicating, itne lambe chaude passages mat communicate karo. Okay, this was done as an exercise to learn, but look at what is going to happen. Some people are going to visualize, some are not going to visualize because they find it difficult to visualize. Not all are visual learners. Sometimes in our mind, we have different images. I'm sure most of you must have experienced this, that when a book gets converted into a movie, those of you who have read the book and seen the movie, you'll always feel your big book was better. Reason is, when you're reading the book, you put in all the visuals, you know. So the author may have described how the heroine looks, but it is your version of that look. Whereas when you see it on the screen, you'll find maybe Aishwarya Rai or somebody else, and total mismatch. So that's the difference. That's the reason we have to appeal to all the senses of the listeners. Okay, now coming back to this rephrasing or something we call paraphrasing, I'm going to share my screen out here. And just so that we go in a sequential manner, so that it's easy for you to understand, we'll talk about everything that we have discussed so far. So active listening, थोड़े बहुत listening के ही है. You know, give your undivided attention to the speaker. So as of now, all the 3 volunteers, along with all of you, everybody was a fantastic listener. Okay, undivided attention. You were focusing only and only on what was talked about. You were very, very alert. Okay, so these are part of the things that you have already done, which are fantastic. Few things we need to add is understand the message. Okay, like I think we talked about it. I tried to figure out the gist of the message. We discussed this. Okay, let's see how it will be done. Basically, when you look at this, we'll go back to the story. When we are looking at this story, what is it that you think would be the gist of the message? What was it that I was trying to communicate? What was the story all about?
That, ma'am, a lady was lying on the road, but she met with an accident and people were not helping her.
Fantastic, Jaspreet. So there was a lady who had an accident and nobody helped her. Why did people not help her?
Due to attire.
Due to her attire and
The assumption
makeup.
that
What was wrong with her makeup?
It was a
slightly
heavy
heavier.
Loud.
Okay. What was wrong with her attire?
Nothing was wrong. Because she fell down, it went into a disarray. Nothing was wrong with her attire.
No, so low moral something you said. I missed the word.
Fantastic. Very good, Chipra. Now that is in between, you know, that people didn't, she had an accident, nobody helped her. Why they did not help her? Because they thought she was not from a respectable background and of poor morals. Now, why did they think this? Because of her makeup, which was heavy, and her attire, which was in a disarray. Why was her attire in a disarray?
Because she fell down.
She fell down.
Anish, can you repeat it?
Because she was hit by a vehicle. And
Yeah, so if
she
people
fell down.
She fell down.
She collapsed. She fell down.
And what? See, normally if you fall down, you'll just straighten up quickly. That's
She collapsed. She was lying still.
She was
Yes.
still,
She
and
was-
she was not able to recover and adjust her clothes
Yes.
or arrange it.
So she was absolutely still. Many onlookers feared the worst. So probably unconscious, because otherwise she would have straightened up. Okay. So now we have got it all backwards. That nobody helped her because they thought she had poor morals and not a respectable background. Why? Because of her makeup, which was heavy. Why? Because of her clothes, which were in a disarray. Why were her clothes in a disarray? Because
Unconsciousness.
she fell down. Why did she fall down?
So she was hit by a vehicle.
She was hit by the
vehicle.
She was hit by the vehicle. Why was she hit by a vehicle?
Because she was impatient to cross the road.
probably the driver was
She
not
was
looking.
in a hurry. She was in a hurry.
The
Impatient
driver
to
did not
Impatient,
see her.
impatient,
Why
impatient
did
to
the driver
cross.
did not notice.
Not follow
Compulsory
basic
did-
traffic rules as well.
So the driver did not see her. Why did the driver not see her?
Because it was a busy
really,
road
really
and
Road.
busy.
and she was very impatient. She walked in front.
Impatient.
So now in your notes, you can write down MG Road and busy. And maybe a few pointers which is going to trigger your memory. Yes, Namrata.
Ma'am, but, there are words used in the people were hesitant. Like there are words which clearly have indicated that people did not think that she had good moral value. So that is their assumption. She might be a very decent, she might be an NGO worker, you never know. But ma'am, if I am going to pass it on, to probably one line might have been added. Yes, people were prejudiced. They were judging her, but that is not a fact. People were just making their own.
Wait, hold on, Namrata. Now you are also giving your judgment.
Ma'am, I'm just saying that because
when you're passing on the message, say that people thought that she did not have good morals.
Right. So
okay, when you add that, it may not be true. You are giving your version of it.
Right. No, but ma'am, if I say that people thought that people were hesitant to touch her because somewhere they were judging only.
It's a fact that is given. Nobody there wanted to touch her, forget about helping her. So it's a fact. So that is not your judgment. It's a fact that I am giving. Now, I may be telling you a wrong thing, but it's on me. Okay. All right. That's on me. But what you have heard is a fact here. Okay. So when you tell that, if you're passing on the message, people misjudged, people had prejudice, that much acceptable. Whether you agree or not, that is your part of it. That is your addition.
Because nobody, it's not stated clearly that people asked each other, they were mumbling, no, we'll not. We don't know the facts that we really had.
We just know that nobody helped her. That is why the next part, suspend your judgment. Okay. We always, now this is a very obvious example of judgment. The narration itself suggests that there is a prejudice. When we are narrating it or repeating it to somebody, our judgments is also coming, social values, cultural aspects, whereas we've not talked about it in the message at all. But see how quickly we assume things. Okay, so that is where we have to suspend judgment. What you can do is the next two things. Clarify by paraphrasing and ask questions and summarize. Okay, so the three key active listening skills that I would like to add here are paraphrasing, summarizing, and questioning. Okay, so I think somebody mentioned, I think Karthik, if I'm not mistaken, rephrasing. So
yes, I have mentioned this, yeah.
So instead of using the word rephrasing, I'm going to use the word paraphrasing, which is the correct word for this kind of exercise. Restating what another has said in your own words. Okay. Now, why do you need to do this? Okay. One, when the original language is not particularly memorable, but the ideas are, or when the original language is too difficult to understand, or when the original language is too long. So now in this case, it is difficult that the clothes were in a disarray and more of her was visible than she intended. Long bhi hai, difficult bhi hai, awkward bhi hai. So either you can ask a question or you can paraphrase. Now, how do you paraphrase? How do you paraphrase? So each paraphrase is like a closed question. All right. So it usually starts with a prefix. So what you're saying is, I'm not saying this is an exhaustive list, okay? The ones which I was showing you on the screen. It's just an example. Are you saying that? So you seem to think, you think that these are all how you begin your paraphrasing. Then this prefix is followed by a restatement of what has the speaker has just said, which is not longer than one sentence. And then you follow it up by asking a question that, am I right? Is this correct? So if you're talking about this, her clothes were in a disarray and more of her were visible than she intended. My paraphrasing could be, so are you trying to say that she looked indecent? And then my answer would be, no, I don't know whether she was decent or indecent, but her clothes were in a disarray, not in their proper place. So what is the reason you're paraphrasing? To get some clarity. Okay. For example, yesterday I rushed around. I seemed to have no time for myself. I went from one place to another and it was hard to fit everything in. So if you had to paraphrase this, how would you do it?
I had a very busy day yesterday.
No, now I am saying this sentence to somebody else. As a listener, you have to paraphrase. So you can't say I. It has to be you're clarifying this with the speaker. So how would you say it?
So you are
To start with, so you were saying that
You seem
you
to have
had-
a very busy day yesterday.
You seem to have a very busy day yesterday. And then check whether this is right or wrong. Okay, so am I right? Okay, so another way, looks like you had a very hectic day, correct? So it is always going to be ending with a close-ended question, which they can say yes or no. If they say yes, you got it right. If they say no, they will.
देखो एक क्वेश्चन से कहाँ ऊपर नीचे चला सारे एक क्वेश्चन से
Okay, take another one. थोड़ा difficulty level थोड़ी बड़ी है इसमें. School has really been difficult for me. I really have to work hard to do well. My grades have always been good, but it hasn't been easy. Not like my sister. Megan has just waltzed right through school. She just reads a chapter once and it's all there when the test comes. So would you be able to paraphrase this?
So you were not good in your studies in school, or you were
Compared to your sister Megan, you
comparison
seem to have had a really difficult time in school, even though your grades were good.
You seems to be finding it hard to cope up with the pressure of the school.
No, please. Now that is judgment. I didn't talk about pressure at all.
So, ma'am, can go it this way that you mean to say that you got good grades, but when you compare it with your sister, it's not that good. And so,
No, we are not talking about good grades and comparison.
So maybe we can ask, so you were saying that you had to work really hard while you were in school, though you had good grades, unlike your sister who could, complete through school easily because she had to read the chapter only once and she could deliver it when the test comes. Am I right?
Okay, Margaret, you're almost there, but it's becoming too long.
Okay.
So
is it like I mean, to get the good grades, you have worked really very hard. Is that so?
Okay, but you have to add something more about Megan. Maybe just one, like unlike Megan, your sister, you had to really work hard in school. Am I right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Kavita, anything different from you?
Nothing, ma'am. Almost same. I was going to say that seems like your sister has had a better memory, but she could just read once and again, while you had really worked your way through to get good grades.
Okay, but now you can reduce that lit sisters part a little bit. See, remember, it has to be very crisp. Zyada nahi bolna hai because you're paraphrasing. Okay.
Megan is better in study than
So
me.
your sister had better retention, probably, whatever she studied, because it says that she reads just chapter once. So you had good grades, but it wasn't as easy as your sister. Probably she had better retention.
No, stop, Namrata. There itself. Don't add about Megan. Because when you're going to Megan, you're changing it to your perception. that her retention was very high. Vagara. This is something.
नहीं,
additional.
intention, her retention of this thing, because she
Yeah.
reads once and she remembers it. So the
Yeah.
retention of the whatever information, whatever she's reading.
I got you. What I'm trying to say is you don't need to add that. Stop there itself. That your grades were good, but you had to really work hard in school, unlike your sister. Okay. Now I'm going to show you one more before we stop this, and I'll show you different ways it can be done. Okay. Now this is somebody who's really frustrated and is talking about everything. So I'm really interested in learning more about your wellness products. But every time I try to find out more about the products your company is selling, I get a different story. I seem to get different information from everyone I speak to. No information is consistent. And then when it comes to the product prices, well, I have to say I'm totally confused. Each price list I look at is different. Just to top things off, I don't know who I should be contacting to get accurate information. And every time I speak to someone, I seem to get conflicting advice. I'm just about ready to give up on this completely.
Ma'am, in this, can we say that if I understand correctly, you need more clarity in the pricing and product and the company?
Okay, very good.
I think you should be more consistent about the information or data that you put up on social media and organize it to retain good customers.
No, I want you to just paraphrase it, Kavita.
So the suggestion is maybe you should just organize your data that you put up on social media or maybe website.
No, you're giving a suggestion. I want you to paraphrase to this person who's speaking to you.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I'm interested in learning more about your products, the pricing, and the and how to get the information. However, I'm unable to get the information. I'm unable to get the information, as in not I, you are unable to get the information. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
So let me try, ma'am. So you are getting confused while trying to select a product or even trying to find the right price, right?
Okay. All right.
Ma'am, can I ask a question first? Because it says that I seem to get different information from everyone I speak. So I don't want to assume it, but this word everyone is it the employee of the companies he's talking about? He has contacted various employees just to get the information.
I guess, I don't know. This is all I have.
Okay. Because if that is the case, then he can just paraphrase that, every person I've spoken to, they don't have the same, so they are not on the same page when it comes to information, because I'm getting a different information. And that's conflicting.
All we have to do is paraphrase it.
I think can we
I'm getting conflicting advice, and I'm interested in knowing about your wellness products.
No, Namrata, you have to respond. When you say paraphrase, we have to respond to the speaker. You got to answer, or you have to reply to him, to the person.
Information is
can
not
it be-
proper as per
Can it be put in
product.
Okay, Vikram, go ahead.
Okay.
Information is not proper pertains to the product and all.
See, words are there, but how do you say it? How do you paraphrase it? That is important.
Can I try?
Yes,
May I
Sukrit, go
try
ahead.
again?
Okay.
Sukrit, 1 minute.
Okay. I think it ideally should be that, are you trying to say that, everyone is giving an advice with an intent to sell, and there is no uniformity in the information that is getting disseminated to you?
Uniformity part, correct. Idea of selling, judgment. Got it?
Got it. Got it,
Okay, Pamida, yes, you got your hand raised.
Yeah, ma'am, could it be something like, what, I'm interested in the product, however confused because I don't know who to contact to.
No, Famida, let me just, I think this is a confusion with everybody. Now, the speaker is saying this, he or she is telling me all this. If I have, as a listener, as an active listener, I paraphrase what he or she is saying. So how do I do that? You're
So,
just speaking the words here.
So ma'am, can I say ki, okay, you are you have not received the consistent information. So can I share the contact so that you get the accurate information? Because this person just want to talk to the right person. So if he's talking to me, he's complaining to me, then can I say ki, okay, so far
Okay.
have understood.
So Namrata, you are going beyond paraphrasing and adding.
Achha, just 2 lines, then I can say, ma'am, actually the problem with me is my biggest challenge is to keep things short and brief. This I'm learning this out. You know, I can write theses. It's easy for me, but when I have to so I'm learning that's why I'm taking more of your time on this. So if I have to keep it crisp to this customer, probably potential customer, I'll just say, okay, so information has not been consistent and you need to talk to someone to get accurate information. That's all.
Stop there. Yeah.
So ma'am, let me also try once again. So you are saying that you have a concern of getting varying information from different people about the product as well as varying prices, right?
Correct. Prasad, we'll just take this last one. Prasad, go ahead.
Yes, it seems like the speaker is in need of a reliable source of information from where you can get the right information about the product, its prices.
No, not. See, you're getting there, but you're still talking, giving me your, your thoughts on it. Whereas I'm asking you to paraphrase it. A lot of people have actually done it. I'll just give you now this particular, like I told you, complex hai. So you can paraphrase it in 3-4 different ways. So I'll just give you an example here.
Should I try once, ma'am?
Who's this? One second.
Vishal.
Vishal, yes, go ahead, Vishal.
So what I understand is that you are interested in our wellness product. However, there is no credible source of information to inquire about. Is it correct?
No, actually, I wouldn't say add that credibility of those sources. It's just conflicting information she is getting. All sources are credible, but you call me, I give something else. She calls you, Vishal, you give something else. So that is the conflicting part of it. So when you are paraphrasing, don't change the words or don't add something to it. Okay. Otherwise, it's correct. So I have a few examples here how you can paraphrase it. Are you saying that you've just not been able to access quality information about the products and the product prices? Okay. So this is paraphrasing facts. Another thing that you could do here, another thing, not always. So it seems to be that you're incredibly frustrated. I'm paraphrasing feelings here. Okay. Or third, so what you're saying is you think the customer service needs a lot of improvement. Paraphrasing opinion.
But ma'am, I am feeling that the second and third sentences would be judgment again, no? So it seems to me that it's my judgment. It seems to me.
It seems to me that you're incredibly frustrated, but I'm not stating it as a fact. I'm actually asking.
Okay.
I'm checking out.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
true. You're allowing the speaker to confirm.
What was that, Sapna?
I got it. It seems means you're asking a question. You're not giving a judgment. Yeah, I got it.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay. So I'm not saying facts ka hi paraphrasing kar sakte hai. You can paraphrase feelings. You can paraphrase opinion to figure out where the problem lies. Okay. Now, depending on what is going on around you, what is the situation, you can pick and choose and paraphrase. But that is how paraphrasing is done. What you can also do is question. Questioning is another way of getting clarity. So you can clarify your doubts, you can ask probing questions to get more data and gather information. So like I mentioned earlier, questioning, it's an art. And good quality questions will produce good quality answers. So we should know the art of asking questions. Now, the type of questions, I think all of you know: open-ended, probing, close-ended, silence, and reflective. So close-ended questions would be
Yes or no?
yes or no. Absolutely correct. Yes or no. The answer that you get can either be yes or it can be a no. Those are close-ended. Open-ended question would be different. Okay. For example, okay, let us try. So I need a volunteer. And we'll try and have some different volunteers who don't speak. Azhar, are you there? Are you able to talk?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. So we'll have a kind of a role play out here, and I'm going to ask you some questions and looking for some answers from you. Okay?
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Okay. So Azhar, do you like to watch television?
Yeah, obviously, ma'am.
Okay. So glad you like to watch television. So what do you watch on television?
Mostly web series and movies.
Movies and what was that?
Web series.
Web series and movies. All right. So what kind of web series do you watch?
Suspenseful or maybe horror.
Oh, you like horror and suspense.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the suspense is also about horror, or it could be like murder and thrillers kind of.
Thriller types of.
Thriller type. What about movies? What kind of movies do you like to see?
Mostly comedy movies I like to watch.
Okay. So you like to watch comedy movies on television and thriller web series.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
All right. Did you did you check the questioning techniques? Were you able to get it?
Yes, ma'am, it is open-ended.
No, ma'am, it was all.
It was.
I think
It
many of
started
them
with a
were
close,
covered.
and then it went to open-ended,
probing
then
questions.
probing.
Okay, hold on. I'm not getting anybody because everybody's talking at the same time. Azhar, you go ahead.
Yeah. So firstly, ma'am, open-ended was there. Probing is also there, and closing is also there, ma'am.
But if you notice, I also started with a closed question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So yeah, in fact, that is the technique of asking questions. All right. This is what y'all are, whatever you have told me, that is how it is. So I asked with the close-ended question because I wanted to check whether you watch TV or not in the first place. And then open-ended question, like what do you watch? Then probe what kind of things that you watch. Okay, web series, but there's so many web series. So what kind do you watch? Do you watch only suspense, or is it horror and suspense, or thrillers, whatever it is? So you keep on probing further and further till you get absolutely correct data. And then you actually end with a close-ended question. Okay, so use these different kinds of questions that are available to us to ensure that, participants as trainers, when participants are talking, communicating, you get all the details. Okay.
What do you mean by silence here?
Yeah, silence is a very, very, very good questioning technique. I don't know how many of you use it, but let's.
I use it.
I use it.
I use it in my trainings.
Yeah, who's that? Sorry, I
Amit. It's Amit.
Yeah. All right. So Amit, you tell me how do you use it? You can explain it.
So whenever this kind of questions are that you're asking to Azad also, na? So thriller. So that 15-second pause is something. Okay, thriller may then the other person start himself talking about it. Yes. Now from thriller I means this, thriller I mean this. So have you watched this? So he just gets open up.
Yes.
So that's how I use silence in my trainings also.
Yes, absolutely correct, Amit. This is what silence as a questioning technique means. Please note, silence does not mean dead silence.
Yeah.
Okay, we are talking about maximum 15 to 20 seconds. Don't go beyond that. Okay, start continuing with your questioning techniques later if people are not opening up. But you don't have to continuously ask questions. Just little bit of silence and people open up. Okay. Sometimes not just silence, but and or the last word, like Azad said, thrillers, and people will open up. So you can use the same word that you have used in a question for tone, and you get more details about it. Okay, so that's another technique of asking questions and reflecting. Reflective questions are very good to us as trainers. So let's say, you're trying to, teach a particular skill, and one of the participants says that, I tried it and it doesn't work. So ask them to reflect on it. So how did it feel when you do it? Were you able to were you not able to use it at all? Or did you not get the appropriate response? So you're asking them to reflect on their solution or, thoughts. Or even in a meeting, somebody is giving you, no, I think I need training on written communication. Why do you think written communication is important to your team? Or how have you reached the conclusion that written communication is poor? Can you give me some examples? So you're asking them to reflect on something that they have said to get more details and data. Okay. And then the last part is about summarizing. Now, our paragraph about that lady with who was in an accident, it was such a long paragraph. Plus, if you add some questioning, you add some paraphrasing, फिर तो time भी बहुत जाने वाला है. And I remember Azim saying that, you had some thoughts in your mind, but when you listen to so many other things, you've kind of forgotten about it. To ensure that all that doesn't happen, summarize before you finish off the conversation. What do you mean by summarizing? Pulling together the main points of the speaker. So how do you summarize? Take away all the verbiage, take away all the irrelevant examples, focus on the heart of the matter, and try to use the key words that are used in the conversation, which will help you remember whatever you have heard. Okay. So along with all the listening skills that we've already discussed, 3 key active listening skills: paraphrasing, questioning, and summarizing.
Ma'am, I would like to add something here for the summarizing part.
Yeah, go ahead.
So usually as listeners, we bring in a lot of preconceived notions or biases in interpreting what is being said. So summarizing phase actually addresses all of it, where the speaker can reconfirm and say, no, this is not what I meant, or this is not what I said. So that helps both the receiver as well as the speaker.
Yes. In fact, it's a very good idea that every time after your communication, not only in training, even after a phone call, summarize the call before you call off. Meetings, we write minutes of meetings, but there are often arguments over the minutes. कि मैंने ऐसा बोला ही नहीं था, मैंने ये date agree ही नहीं किया था. Therefore, in the meeting itself, summarize before you put it down in your minutes. So it's very important so that nothing gets missed out or added. Okay. All right. So we finished with active listening. What I'm going to add here is different communication styles. Okay, now there are many communication styles. We're going to focus on 4 important types of communication or styles of communication: passive, aggressive, passive-aggressive, and assertive. So what do you really mean by them? Let me just give you an example. Okay, so let's say that, okay, all right, let's assume that, I'm taking a physical training program at the client location. and it's quite far off from my house. And a friend of mine calls me and says, "Are, Simantini, you're taking a session in Hinjewadi? Wow, I'm also in the vicinity. So wait for me till 7, we'll go home together." Now the situation is my training gets over at 5:30. She wants me to wait till 7. I don't want to, because what am I going to do from 5:30 to 7? Secondly, after 7, I'm going to get caught in peak traffic. So I'm going to take even longer to reach home. Now, how do I respond to this? Okay. These are the 4 styles of communication. So if my friend calls up and tells me that, "Simantini, wait till 7 o'clock," I can immediately respond by, "What? 7? Are you crazy? You think I'm going to wait from 5:30 to 7 just for coming with you? Don't you realize my ghar ka situation, my kids and my cooking and, the peak traffic? How can you even suggest that?" So this is one style of responding, wherein I'm actually putting forward my own point of view, but I'm putting it in a way that is kind of hurtful to the other person. So basically, I get what I want, I win, but she is hurt, she loses. That is actually aggressive style. Okay. Second, passive. What is passive? Now, I don't want to wait. 1.5 घंटा मैं क्या करने वाली हूँ इधर? But yeah, she is my friend. How do I say no to her? After all, she is my friend. ठीक है, I'll wait. And I agree. I lose. She wins. Passive style. Okay. What is assertive now?
To be able to say no or yes, whatever, in a courteous manner, considerate.
Yes.
Maybe suggest some other options.
Yeah. So all the 7 C's included out here, but actually stating what you want. So saying what you want to say without hurting another person, trying to find a good solution, that is assertiveness. So if she says wait, you can say, "Arey, I would love to wait. I would like to meet up, catch up with you. However, I can't wait till 7 o'clock. At the most, I can wait till 6. So if you can come here by 6 o'clock, great. Otherwise, we'll catch up some other time." Okay. So I'm not raising my voice. I'm not stating I'm not doing what I don't want to do. I'm being very clear about it. And I'm giving options as well. That is assertiveness. There's a 4th category also out here, passive aggressive. That is kind of the worst. That I don't really want to wait, but I'm not able to say no to my friend. So I said, "Okay, theek hai, I'll wait for you." And then I leave. I don't wait at all. I just go once my work is done. And when she calls up at 7 o'clock, I'll say, "Arey, yaar, emergency aa gaya, ghar se phone aaya, so I had to rush back. I didn't even get time to call you up."
Maybe even not respond to her call sometimes.
That is even worse to the worse of the passive aggressive. Don't take her calls at all. And very often, because we are not able to be assertive, we end up having this passive aggressive style. Okay. So if you have to put it on a graph, communication style depends upon the respect for self and respect for others. So obviously, when you have enough, great amount of respect for the others as well as for yourself, you are always going to be assertive. So you don't take a back seat. You don't, just do something you don't want to do. You give yourself equal importance to as the person in front of you. That is assertiveness. And then opposite is passive aggressive. Neither for yourself nor for the other person you have any respect. And then,
excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, just please.
Ma'am, what is manipulative communication style then? Can you state an example for that also?
Manipulative. So manipulative is something which is not coming under any of these categories. It is a totally different category altogether. If I have to give you an example, or most commonly, manipulative communication is used by kids, small kids. Okay. You're on a very important call. They know exactly when to ask for a sweet, right? You don't want to be disturbed. You're on an important call and they'll keep coming to you. Ma, can I have this sweet? Can I have this? Can I have this? That finally, just to keep the person quiet, you say, okay.
Ma'am, did you hear mine? Kya? Because my daughter actually just a few minutes back, she had come when I was talking now. So she exactly asked for this croissant something. So maybe
that's their way. Kids are very naturally very great at manipulating or using the manipulative style of communication. They don't know it, but it comes very naturally to them. So they also know whom to ask. They know mom and dad are not going to say yes. They go to the grandparents because they're going to get a yes from there. वो थोड़ी ना मना करने वाले.
So ma'am, in this situation which you were stating, like your friend asked you to wait, so how we will answer this in a manipulative way?
I don't know how you'll be able to answer in a manipulative manner in this particular situation. Okay, the friend probably is using manipulative behavior to talk to me, or she wants a ride home, so she calls me very well knowing that I'm going to finish at 5:30 and she's going to finish at 7. That could be manipulative, but my response to that kind of conversation, I don't know how to manipulate.
Got it, ma'am. Thank you.
At the most, you'll use the passive aggressive style.
I think there is a way which is commonly used in office at times is मैं रुक जाऊंगा यार, पर मैं ना वहां पे जाके ना मेरा 10,000 का नुकसान हो जाएगा, क्या मैं नुकसान कर लूं? नहीं तू चला जा.
Okay, then you get a great answer for manipulative. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes, Kavita, you've raised your hand.
Yes, ma'am. Another example with the kids I want to share is, suppose you are at home and you don't want, there's an uninvited guest that comes home and you don't want to respond to them. So you let the kid, answer that, doorbell call saying that, usko bol dena ki mama ghar pe nahi hai. So they're so innocent, they just go exactly and say ki my mother asked me to tell you that she's not at home.
Yes. So it is manipulative style gone all wrong. Okay, so as coming back to these styles, it's not that we don't use any other styles, okay? There are times when we have to use aggressive. There are times you may purposely want to go in for passive. There are times when we will be assertive. Passive aggressive, mainly because we don't have assertiveness skills that we go into passive aggressive behavior. Now, if you have to look at it, assertiveness is the best because both win. You have enough respect for yourself and the others. Your needs as well as the needs of others are important. So our communication should be assertive. Okay, non-assertive should be not done always. Okay, so first of all, you should understand the difference between the various styles, which you can read at leisure. But figure out how it is going to impact the person. So the real meaning of your communication is the result that it produces. So if I use an aggressive style of communication and my friend is going to be hurt and never call me, do I really want that? I'm going to lose out on a friend. Or if I am passive and I say yes to my friend, and all the time I'm waiting for her, I'm cursing her and thinking bad things about her, do I really want that? So if your assertiveness is what you have to use, if you have to use non-assertive behavior, I want you to choose, Stephen Covey, the author of this book called, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He tells us about choosing behavior. He says, there's always a stimulus, and the stimuli if you have that stimulus, there's a reaction. So, you're going in a crowded theater and somebody kicks you and the person looks at you and says, क्या बे देख के नहीं चल सकता है क्या? Your immediate reaction is, तू अंधा है क्या? So don't go in for this reaction, because this reaction creates a problem. Take time to choose your response. Think for a minute or two and then respond, and then you'll see the magic. So think about this in different, even passive assertive, passive aggressive, that you say yes to your friend and go away. Think about what is it that's going to happen. That this friend of yours is going to come there at 7 o'clock. She probably will not have any other means of transport because she's already let go since you're going to be taking her home. You're going to lose out on your friendship just because you've not been able to say no to her. These are all the things that are going to go wrong. Do you want this to happen? If not, change your style. If yes, it's okay. I'm not saying you have to be assertive all the time. You can have non-assertive behavior. Okay. For example, I'll just give you one example and we'll stop here. My personal example, my husband is a very assertive person, almost bordering on aggression, that assertive. One time he was going for a holiday with his friend to Amarnath. I didn't want him to go. Why? Not because I didn't want him to go alone or anything, but it's just, I think that place is dangerous. You keep hearing about landslides there. My parents had been there and they left the place and within 1 hour it was bombed. And every year, there are huge landslides and, people die. With this background, I didn't want him to go. So, but now my husband is very assertive. He's very logical. He'll probably tell me, jo hona hai wo kahan bhi ho sakta hai, if I have to die, I'll die here also. In spite of knowing this, I just told him that don't go this time, forget it. And he actually listened. So in spite of being assertive, he actually had non-assertive, he had a passive behavior, and he said, okay, fine, don't want me to go, I won't go. So I asked him later on, how come you said no? And his answer was very simple. And he said that I'm going with my friends to have fun, and I'm certainly not going to have fun knowing my wife is going to be worried sick at home. So freedom to choose a response. I know very well that nothing that I'm saying, the logical reason that I'm giving is not true. But I don't think I'm going to enjoy if you're worried. I've chosen to be non-assertive. So as trainers, 99.9% of the time, we have to be assertive. However, there might be times when you can choose passive responses, but choose them. So you got a very, very, very difficult participant who's constantly going against you. There might be a time when you choose a passive response saying, okay, fine, it may be right for you, and continue. So you are allowed, but it should not be always. Okay, so that's the end of our session today.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a lovely session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Thank you, ma'am.